Are you listening?
Hey, welcome back to the Nerf Report. My name is Bryant, and for today's show, let's talk about Google Stadia. And the reason we need to talk about Google Stadia is because with the 7 games joining Stadia Pro this month, the Stadia Pro Library will hit a total of 50 available games, which means that if someone were to sign up for Google Stadia today, they would immediately have access to a library of 50 games. And for the most part, that library of games is pretty solid. I mean, right now, Stadia Pro members can claim games like Ark Survival Evolved, Control Ultimate Edition, Hitman: The Complete First Season, Journey to the Savage Planet, Life is Strange Remastered, PGA Tour 2K21, Trine 4, Saints Row 4, and of course, everyone's favorite Falconeer Warrior Edition. And unlike other subscription services with Stadia Pro, once you claim a game, you own it for the lifetime of your subscription, even if the game leaves Stadia Pro, which is awesome and in many ways represents one of the most solid offerings that Google Stadia has ever offered to new and existing Pro members. And I can't help but wonder if the size of the Stadia Pro library has anything to do with Stadia changing payouts to participating developers. You might remember that back in 2021, Google announced that it would share 70% of its Stadia Pro revenue with developers based on engagement of their game. Specifically, the revenue cut will be based on how many players open your game during that time period. And since that change, if you look at the stats, it's kind of crazy. When that announcement was made back in July of 2021, Stadia Pro was home to 17 games. 6 months later, Stadia Pro is now at 50 games, which means Google was able to grow that Pro library by 33 games in 6 months. It would seem that the changes that Stadia made to Pro are not only working, but seem to be very popular with developers. Another crazy stat surrounding the Stadia Pro library is that if you are a Stadia founder and have claimed every game since launch, you now have a library of 130 games. And for me, someone who's been following this since day one, it's interesting to see how other people are starting to absorb this news as well. I mean, just last week, Forbes wrote an article that said Stadia Pro has a stronger lineup of games in February than PlayStation Plus. And not to be the guy who's like, technically, but Stadia has been kicking PlayStation Plus and Xbox games with gold butt for a long time now. I mean, we've talked about this before, but if you look at the entire year of 2021, Google Stadia offered 56 Stadia Pro games for the value of $1,573. PlayStation offered 40 games for the value of $1,514. Xbox offered 48 games for a value of $1,074. And honestly, I mean, that is the type of stuff that gets me hyped about Google Stadia. Could there be more video games? Sure. But to see the platform growing in value is almost as important to me as getting new games. But enough for me, what do you all think? Are you hyped about how strong the Stadia Pro library has become? Have you checked out any of the new Pro games? Which one is your favorite? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Hey, thanks again for checking out our channel. If you like what you saw and you want to see more content just like it, which who wouldn't, hit the subscribe button right there. And while you're down there, hit the like button. Maybe even consider becoming a Nerf Report best friend, just like the people listed down below did. In fact, don't you want to see your name there? I know I do.